Welcome to Sports Talk with R and J. I am Steve Risser along with Justin D'Onofrio, and obviously we got a busy show today. We got a big week in college football. You got two top 10 matchups. Baseball's got news going to the off season. Obviously we got week 9 in the NFL. That's where we're going to start. But I'll just make a statement just as the show begins. We know last night was a huge night in our country. Obviously with Biden and Trump going at it, nothing has been decided yet. I'm just going to make this statement. For the next hour and a half, we're just going to give you guys a distraction, talk some sports like we normally do. Obviously, we are aware of the situation that's going on in our country right now between Biden and Trump going at it for the presidency. But for the next hour and a half, we're a sports show, and that's what we're going to stick to for the next hour and a half. So now we're going to start and we're going to start with the trade deadline in the NFL. And it was not a very, very, very quiet NFL trade deadline. I mean, really, there were a lot of rumored moves. Stephon Gilmore was rumored. Will Fuller was rumored. None of those moves ended up happening. So very quiet trade deadline. Some of the moves were Avery Williamson going to the Steelers. That improves their defense, obviously, with Devin Bush getting hurt. The Titans traded for Desmond King. Gives them another corner. Maybe could help them on third down. That team has had a lot of trouble getting off the field on third down. The Saints get Quan Alexander. That really improves their front seven. That makes their front seven really, really good there. And the Patriots, they get Isaiah Ford from the Dolphins. Not really a big move with Edelman out. That could help. As I see Joe put up the graphic, Isaiah Ford. The Dolphins end up getting a 7th rounder in 2022 for him. So quiet trade deadline, but that's what it kind of expected at the NFL trade deadline. No one's really going to end up making a big move, and it was quiet. And what's your take on what happened yesterday? I know it's not much, Justin. What's your take on what happened yesterday?
Yeah, it was very quiet. I was very surprised that the Packers did not go out and get a linebacker and did not go get a wide receiver because, as we saw, Avery Williamson's a decent linebacker, and the Steelers didn't get up a ton for him.
Justin, we're gonna get to the Packers.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna get to the Packers. Don't worry about that.
All right. It was very quiet. I guess I thought there would be a little bit more moves, but there was not much of it. I thought the Patriots were going to sell more, but yeah, it was a very quiet deadline. Quieter than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you thought maybe Gilmore might get traded. I thought for sure Will Fuller was going to get traded. I thought with the Texans being 1-6, them being out of it, they get some value for Will Fuller. If he's a free agent, he's going to be a free agent next year. They get some value for him, but they didn't end up doing that. I thought he should have went to the Packers. I mean, that would have made a lot of sense, but they ended up not making that move. And we'll now get to the Green Bay Packers. And here's the thing about the Packers: this organization is failing Aaron Rodgers right now. It's completely failing Aaron Rodgers. It's not been good. It's just and the thing about about them is they have Devontae Adams, one of the top receivers. Aaron Jones, one of the top, pretty good running back. But here's the thing about the Packers. They go into the draft, they're looking for a weapon on offense. But listen, I don't get on them for taking Jordan Love at all. I don't get on them for making that move. I don't. But I mean, how does Jordan Love help your team? That's what I don't get. How does Jordan Love help your team this year when you had a loaded draft at the receiver position and you could have improved there? And you draft Jordan Love there, so you don't help your team there. Then you get to the trade deadline. You get a guy like Will Fuller who's available. You don't pull the trigger. You don't want to give up a 2nd round pick in 2022. You don't want to help your team there. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. So I mean, they're as you saw on Sunday. This is a team that's a Super Bowl contender, but they're not the favorite because they can't stop the run. And if you take Devontae Adams away, and if you contain Aaron Jones, you can contain their offense as well. So this is definitely not the best team. I felt like they could have improved their team, gotten Rodgers maybe back to another Super Bowl. But the way it's looking right now, Seattle and Tampa Bay clearly look like better teams than them.
Yeah, I was really, really surprised that the Packers did not make a move. Definitely Will Fuller. I 100% thought he was going to go with Green Bay. Because the window's cool. I know Rodgers. Rodgers doesn't have a ton of time left to get another Super Bowl win. He's still got maybe another 2-3 years, but it's like they just they haven't really tried to help him in the draft, trying to get weapons. Then they had an opportunity to get Will Fuller, and they don't do it. And then even the linebacker market, Avery Williamson the Steelers didn't give up a ton for him. I'm surprised that they didn't go out get a linebacker, because we just saw what happened Sunday against the Vikings. It was pretty much kind of a mirror image of the NFC Championship game, and at the moment they're supposed to be playing the Niners tomorrow night. So yeah, I was really surprised with the Packers just staying put. Again, because like Seattle's D got some weakness. We saw Tampa Bay secondary is a weakness as well. So
but if you look at Seattle, they got Lockett.
Yeah.
They got Lockett, and they got Metcalf. You look at the Buccaneers, they got Antonio Brown, and they got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. What do the Packers have outside of Devontae Adams, Valdez Scantling, and Alan Lazard? That's not good enough if you want to compete with Tampa Bay and you want to compete with Seattle.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and that's why right now they're the third best team, I think, right now in the NFC, and they had a chance to kind of get up there, maybe climb up there and get the 1 or 2 spots. They went out and got a wide receiver or got a linebacker, but it was odd that they stayed put.
Absolutely. And you made a great point about Avery Williamson there. Yeah, Avery Williamson is not a great player, but Avery Williamson absolutely could have helped this team, because their run defense and their linebacking core is probably one of the worst in football. It's absolutely pathetic. It's absolutely terrible. It's awful. And teams are just going to run the ball right down their throat, especially in the postseason. This is how they're going to get attacked. I mean, even though Seattle and Tampa Bay don't have great running games, I mean, the combination of Fournette and Jones isn't that bad. And then once Chris Carson gets healthy, he's pretty good too. So this Green Bay team is in some trouble because they just can't improve around Aaron Rodgers. And I think, and personally, Aaron Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback to play the game. And people want to debate me because of what happened in the playoffs. But look at all the playoff losses he's had. 2009 against the Cardinals, lost 51-45 in overtime. How I know there was a turnover at the end of that game, but still, how is it his fault the defense gave up 40 points? They won the Super Bowl in 2010, 2011. Lost 37-20 to the Giants. I mean, defense didn't play well and guys couldn't catch the ball. 2012, lost 37-27 to the 49ers. Defense gives up 37 points. Let's Kaepernick have a huge day. 2013, the defense can't stop Kaepernick at the end of the game. 2014, they can't recover an onside kick. 2015, he makes one of the best plays we've ever seen to get the game to overtime, and then Arizona scores a touchdown. 2016, I mean, the guy puts the team on his back. They're 4-6, and then carries them all the way to the NFC Championship game, where the defense gives up 40 points. 17, he gets hurt. 18, he got hurt week 1 and played through it. And last year, gets them again to the conference championship game, and the team can't stop the run. So, honestly, I think this guy is a top 5 quarterback to ever play the game. And I think the Packers organization is very overrated, and they have not done they've not done what they've needed to do to help this guy.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. Talking about all those playoff losses, it's every one they gave up 30 points, 30, 40 points, and you can't expect in the playoffs to win shootouts every time. You can't expect that, because usually teams in the postseason, especially when you get later in it, they have good defenses. That's how they get the Super Bowl, and they just haven't been able to do that. I know, right? He still has like another 3-4 years in his contract, but is this something where, if he wants to continue playing after the 4 years and Green Bay doesn't continually try to help him, does he kind of do what Brady did and
force his way out of there? I mean, there's a team in Indianapolis right now that probably needs a quarterback that has a better roster than you. So, and enough with not making this team better around Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is playing at a top 3 level. He's a top 3 quarterback in this league. The Packers have just failed to put – I mean, their team is decent around him, but a good enough team around him to compete for a championship. And they are a Super Bowl contender because of him. And they got some decent weapons around him. They got some decent players, but they don't got the roster of the Seattle Seahawks, and they don't got the roster of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's very hard to beat a Tom Brady, even at his age, and Russell Wilson without having the better roster.
Yeah, it is. And especially, I know you mentioned a few minutes ago, with the weapons they have, they obviously cannot go up against those guys. And, and then even, trying to stop the running game, it's you can't tackle. It's pretty hard to stop Leonard Fournette because he will run you over every time. They just won't be able to slow down any of those two teams, I think. And this Green Bay team, may get back to the NFC Championship game, but right now I don't see him get back to Super Bowl because they just do not have enough to keep up with Tampa and Russell Wilson and the Seahawks.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But speaking of the Green Bay Packers, they're going to open up our Week 9 preview as the Packers head to San Francisco to face the 49ers tomorrow. But we don't know if that game's going to happen because of a positive test that came in. Kendrick Bourne tested positive right before our show. Kendrick Bourne tested positive for the 49ers. So the 49ers have shut their facility down today. So we don't know if that game's going to happen or not. Green Bay is scheduled to travel out to San Francisco today. So I think the way that things have been going recently, I think if no one tests positive before the game tomorrow, they'll probably play the game tomorrow. So I think they'll probably play it tomorrow, but we'll see what ends up happening there. Still a very fluid situation between those two teams. But for the game, I mean, I think I think that Kyle Shanahan has Matt LaFleur's number, but the problem is Kyle Shanahan has no players left. George Kittle is out for 6 weeks, probably out for the year. Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the year. Obviously, they won't have Deebo Samuel. Kendrick Bourne obviously won't play because he tested positive. They on the defensive side of the ball, they still won't have D Ford or Richard Sherman. So I do think Aaron Rodgers moves the ball, even though the Packers might not have Bakhtiari or Aaron Jones. But I do think in the past game, I still think the Packers move the ball on the 49ers. I think Aaron Rodgers is a big game. I do think the Niners move the ball on the Packers. I mean, we remember in the NFC Championship game last year how they were able to run the ball down the Packers' throats. And I still think they have success doing it because Kyle Shanahan will find a way to run the ball down Green Bay's throats. I think he finds a way to do that. But at the end of the day, I think this is a close, competitive game. And I'm going to take the more talented team here. I'm going with the Packers 27-24 over the Niners.
Yeah. I've been, I know I tell you yesterday going with the Niners, but with everything going on, and I don't know if the Packers are able to stop the run at what I saw Sunday. But right now, I think I'm going to stick with my Niners pick. I'm going to change the score a bit, though. I think if the Niners win this game, it's going to be a little bit more low scoring. And I get the Niners winning this thing 23-20. You mentioned the Niners are so banged up. It's probably smart to put Garoppolo back on the IR. Nick Mullins threw for like 230 yards in the fourth quarter against Seattle last week. Try to get him back into it, but this Niners team, they're it's so much talent. To still be 4-4 right now, it's still pretty impressive. But I see them being able to do what they did in the SEC championship game, and I think they just control the game on the ground. And I think they just find a way to keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, and I think that's how they end up winning this game 23-20 at home. And I also worry too. I always they're kind of Packers going out west on a short week. I always worry about the road teams in this situation, especially longer road trip.
Oh, absolutely. Flying out west to a team that's had your number. I think it's definitely going to be a close game. I just got to go with the team with more talent. I think the Packers just have more talent right now. The Niners are just so banged up. If the Niners were healthy, I would definitely take the Niners, but the Niners are just so banged up. That's why I got to take the Packers.
Yeah, they did. Packers definitely do have the more talent right now. I just see a way that Kyle Shanahan schemes a way to get that running game going and keep the ball out of Rodgers' hands long enough.
All right, we'll start the rest of the Week 9 slate, and we'll go to a game between two local teams that are struggling mightily, and that is the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. And both these teams, the Patriots have lost 4 in a row. The Jets haven't won a game this year, so something has got to give Monday night when they play at MetLife Stadium. And if the Jets are going to win a football game, this is the game to win because they got the Patriots reeling right now. But I do think for the Patriots, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I thought they played better against the Bills. I thought Cam Newton had a better game. I thought Damian Harris ran the ball really well, and I think that continues this week against the Jets. I think Damian Harris runs the ball well. The Patriots run the ball well with Rex Burkhead and Damian Harris. I think Cam Newton has a good game. I think he gets the ball to Jacoby Myers too. Jacoby Myers played pretty well the other day too for the Patriots. And on the other side for the Jets, I do think they have success running the ball too with Gore and Pirine. But as we all know and saw last year on Monday Night Football, Bill Belichick gives Sam Darnold problems, and I think Sam Darnold will have that one really, really bad turnover in this game, and I think that's what's going to make the difference in this game. And that's why I got the Patriots snapping their 4-game losing streak, beating the Jets 27-17.
Yeah, I got the Pats bouncing back 23-14. And I want to start with this. And Joe's been saying this. I'm going to steal one of Joe's things here with the Mariano effect. With how we all expect the Yankees, Chapman to close out every game. That was a game last week, for the second time in 3 weeks where Brady would have won that game, and on Cam's Newton fumble. I think I'm starting to see a lot of that. We're used to being, Patriots as myself are used to winning that game because Tom Brady's a quarterback, but there will never be another Tom Brady who can drive down the field in the final 2 minutes and win a game. It seems like every single time. We don't have that right now. They're the only team right now too that has not scored an offensive touchdown in the first quarter so far. Newton, since coming back from COVID, no touchdowns and it's like 5 or 6 interceptions. He's been really struggling. I thought he did play better last week. I didn't understand that onside kick. You just tied the game up. All the momentum's on your side. I don't know what that play was. I don't know why they decided to kick an onside kick there. That was frustrating. The tackling was frustrating as well. They did not do a very good job wrapping up. The Bills only had 1 rushing touchdown this year from the running backs. They had 2 on Sunday. Wasn't impressive. Jacoby Myers was a bright spot at wide receiver, and all 4 of the wide receivers they started at were all undrafted guys. So, and last year they had 15 giveaways all season. They already have 15 this year. So it's been a real struggle so far, but I feel like there's no way Bill is going to lose a game to Adam Gase. There is no way that's happening. So I feel like they'll be able to go on the road, take care of business against the Jets, who their run defense was pretty good last week against the Chiefs. But there's just no way Belichick loses this game, and I think it's like their first 4-game losing streak since like 2002. It's been a while. It's been
since 02, middle of 02. I think they started 3-0 and they went 3-4. I think I remember, if memory serves me correctly. Yes,
I believe you are right on that part. Hopefully, Damon Harris keeps getting more and more carries each week because he's much better when he continues to get carries instead of giving them 1 and taking them off the field. But Patrick Bears take care of business on the road.
And before we get to the Giants in Washington, we'll talk about Belichick saying defends the salary cap stance and says the Pats sold out for recent success. I think that's a bunch of BS, to be honest with you, because there wasn't like the Pats went out and spent a ton of money on free. I mean, Gilmore was one of them that they spent a lot of money on free agents. But the biggest reason why the Pats are where they are right now is, number one, is the most obvious one. They let Brady go too early. That's obvious. Brady is still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and they let him go. I mean, last year the big reason why his numbers weren't there was because of the weapons they had around him. Right now he has 20 touchdown passes. He had 24 all year last year. It was not Brady. It was the weapons he had around him. And number 2, Belichick has just drafted poorly in the last 4 or 5 years, and that's the biggest reason why the Patriots are in this situation. It's not because they sold out for a recent Super Bowl success. Stop living in the past. Stop talking about the past. No successful organization talking about the past. Tom Brady doesn't talk about the past. Stop talking about that. So I think the biggest reason the Patriots are where they are is because they have not drafted well. I mean, they draft Sonny Michel instead of Nick Chubb. They draft N'Keal Harry instead of DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. If DK Metcalf is on this team and they drafted DK Metcalf in the first round in 2019, Tom Brady's still on this team. That's a guarantee. There's no way Brady leaves this team if DK Metcalf's on this team. Brady left this team because there wasn't enough talent around him. And he was right to leave this team. He was smart to leave this team because the talent around Cam Newton, I know Cam Newton's been inconsistent, but the talent around him is absolutely terrible. And that's the real reason why the Patriots are where they are. It's because of Belichick's incompetency as a GM. It's not because they've sold out for recent Super Bowl success. It's because Belichick has been incompetent as a general manager.
Yeah, and it's I think there's a lot of frustration in him right now with everything going on. I don't think he thought things were going to get this bad this year. And the 1 year where I thought that he actually did all he could for Brady, the 1 year that they actually, went out and actually signed a bunch of free agents and did all, and made some moves. The 07 when they got Welker, when they got Moss, when they got Stallworth, and see what kind of happens there. And it seems like kind of after that, they never really did a ton. They would make some moves, but not like they did back in, 07. I thought, kind of that, that was like the one big year I thought he did a really good job of getting a ton of weapons for Brady. And, look what happened that year. But yeah, It's not the salary. It's not the salary cap. It's just they just haven't been able to draft and develop guys, and they just missed.
See,
And
look at what the Steelers did with Chase Claypool. They drafted him and they developed him. Look at what they did with Juju Smith-Schuster. They drafted him and developed him. That's what a great organization does, and that's what the Patriots haven't done. They were relying on the best quarterback of all time to carry their team for the last decade. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, it has. They have, and they've been good on the defensive side of the ball of developing guys. It's been the offensive side, and we know Bill's got a great defensive mind, and McDaniels has been a pretty good offensive coordinator. I know this year he's really struggling, but I guess McDaniels really hasn't been able to kind of develop guys. Bill hasn't been able to develop the guys on the offensive side of the ball, and that's been the real struggle last year. Look. They're still relying on Julian Edelman to be their top guy at 32 or 34, whatever, how old he is. And now he's on the IR and, I think with a knee injury. And, you can't keep relying on him. And they just haven't found the right guy. And they just miss. And it's been frustrating to see, especially watching DK Metcalf last week. That was, and then against us in week 2. It's frustrating. I know Bill's very frustrating with all of it right now, but it is what it is. I obviously I don't know this for sure, but I think there's a lot of regret of letting Brady slip when he did. I think it's gone back since 2007. I mean, since 2007, I think Brady wanted ours.
You mean 2017?
Yeah, I meant 2017. Yeah, when
went
down.
Yeah, and the relationship wasn't great, even when they won the Super Bowl in 2018. And by last year, he just got tired of being here. He got tired of carrying the offense. He got sick of it. I mean, and then this year, obviously, it just like I said earlier, it proved that Brady was still a top quarterback in this league. But I mean, he might not be as good as he was in the Super Bowl in 2017. He might not be at that level, but he's still a top quarterback in the league. The problem was the skill guys Belichick had around him, and that's why he wanted out of here and made a very smart decision to get out of here.
Yeah, he did. And then and definitely the relationship, and then obviously too, he wanted to go to a spot where he wasn't going to be criticized for every little thing. He wanted to go be a star, and he wanted to be an all-star. He wanted to get the all-star treatment as well, because I don't think you've read any of that book, the Dynasty that came out. There is some things that Bill said, like, wow, like, I don't know how Brady put up with this for 20 plus years.
Really? Wow.
But, so, and I think that was a huge part of it as well. He wanted to go be a star somewhere else, and he wanted the weapons, because he hasn't had weapons like he has right now since 2007.
Nope, not at all. And he's succeeding. I mean, he's 6-2 right now, the second best team in the NFC. And you look at the Patriots, 2-5, and they're pretty much out of the playoff race. But we got to get to my Giants, and they had another tough loss on Monday night, losing to the Buccaneers 25-23. This week they head down to DC to face the Redskins in an NFC East battle. And for any Giant fan that thinks this is going to be an easy game, you are mistaken. Washington is a team that's trying to fight for the NFC. Yes, I know they're 2-5, but they still have a very good chance of winning the NFC East. Their defense, their front four with Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, and Daron Payne is still a really good front four for the Redskins. So this is going to be a very, very close competitive game in the NFC East. And here's how I think the game's going to go. I think the Giants I think the biggest difference in this game is I think the Giants are going to be able to run the football. They're going to be able to run the football. Hopefully, we'll see if Devontae Freeman plays, but with Gallman and Freeman, I think they'll be able to run the football better than the Redskins. I do think Jones will have his one terrible turnover like he has every game, but here's the thing. I think he makes more plays than Kyle Allen, and I do think Kyle Allen's going to have that bad turnover too. So I do think Daniel Jones makes more plays than Kyle Allen. Giants run the football, so that contains Washington's pass rush. And I do think that Kyle Allen makes some plays, but I think Daniel Jones makes more plays. And I got the Giants winning this game in D.C. 24-20 over Washington.
I got Washington a close one, 23-20. I think, a big part of this game is what quarterback makes the less mistakes. And then for Jones, I think that was his 12th straight game with multi-turnovers. But in his first 20 games in the NFL, he had 19 interceptions. Remember, Peyton had 34 of them. And
Different times though. Different times at different times. Quarterbacks are it's a different position now. You look at the way Justin Herbert's played. Look at the way Joe Burrow's played. Quarterbacks can play very, very well very early in their careers now. But back then, it took a year or two to become usually took a year or two to become a good quarterback back then.
Yeah, it did. I'm just trying to give Giant fans some hope. Manning had 34 out, through 20 games. So, look, you guys outplayed the Bucs. It's a game you guys should have won, and it's just trying to finish games is still just learn to try to finish games. That's kind of the big key, trying to build that winning culture. Again, and I know down the stretch they got some games that are winnable. So I think the Giants are going to end up with 4 or 5 wins by the end. I feel like, but once you come off the bye, they played really well against Dallas. I know Dallas, it has not looked good the last few weeks, but I think Hal Allen makes enough plays, and I think Washington is able to capitalize off of a Daniel Jones turnover and win the game.
Yeah, this game is a 50-50 game. It can go either way. And the thing about Daniel Jones, which drives you nuts, is you saw at the beginning of the game, the Giants got that turnover against the Bucs. Throws that dime to Deion Lewis, great throw, puts the Giants on top. And for the first half, but first half he played pretty well. But obviously there was that play where he had good protection and he missed Darius Slayton in the end zone on that one play. That was a bad one. But then what drives you nuts about Daniel Jones, he comes out in the second half and throws an interception right off the bat. And then we're up 17-15, he throws another interception. It's just that's the stuff that drives you nuts about Daniel Jones is the inconsistency of him. There are times you think this is the guy that throw to Deion Lewis, the touchdown drive at the end of the game. There's times you think this is the guy. But then there's times, on the 2-point conversion, he throws behind Deion Lewis. The 2 interceptions, the 3 or 4 times the 2 times he missed Darius Slayton, the 1 time he didn't see Darius Slayton. The 1 time he overthrew Sterling Shepard. So there's flashes of really good play, but then there's also flashes of turnovers and missed throws and just inconsistent play. And when your defense is played as well as it is, I know defenses aren't as impactful as it used to be, but when your defense is played as well as it has this year, you shouldn't be a 1-7 football team. That's the thing that really bothers me right now about the Giants.
Yeah, you're exactly right. 1-7. Your defense played well. You've had opportunity. The one game that they were really blown out and did not have one chance was that Niners game. Every other game,
and the Steelers, the Steelers, they had a chance for 2.5 quarters, but the Steelers did beat them. I mean, you can't sit there and say the Steelers beat them. I mean, they weren't that close to beating the Steelers. I mean, they lost 26-16, but they kind of got a touchdown late in that game.
Yeah, I guess for the Steelers they were in it for I guess early on, and they lost the kind of the second quarter, third quarter. But like every other game that they had chances to win and defense played well enough. It's just Daniels just has to learn his lesson. Like that second one, you just got to take the sack there. Just take the sack. I know it doesn't look great on the stat sheet, but it looks even worse if you throw an interception there.
And then you give them a short field and they score a touchdown.
Yeah.
When you have control of the game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that's a killer. That's always a killer. The Eagles game, they had the chance, and then the drop pass by Ingram would have sealed it.
Yeah, that was the one game during the year. I'll say it's the one game that wasn't his fault. That's the one game I'll put. I will not give him. I thought that was his best game of the year. I will not. Absolutely not. I absolutely would not put the loss on him there.
Yeah, that's pretty much been the only one. The other ones, he's made the mistake. The Reigns game in the red zone, the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
going down to tie it, the interception.
Even the Dallas game, we had a chance to win the game, and he couldn't get us in the field. I mean, he played pretty well, but he couldn't get us in a field goal range there either. So it's just this up and down feeling. And I was texting you during the game on Monday night saying, especially after that second interception, if we somehow get that number 1 or 2 pick, it's going to be a tough decision to not take Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. It's just because of the upside. But I don't want to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Giant fan who wants to give up on Daniel Jones at all. But if we get into that position, it's hard to take to not take one of those 2 guys because of the upside. And what you're seeing from Daniel Jones, he's just got to be more consistent, man.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's at times he looks like he can, be a certain quarterback in this league. And at times it's like, what do he looks like he's still a rookie and just makes those bad plays. He's got to learn his lesson, and at some point he's gotta. And it just seems like it's every week he hasn't learned them yet, and you just wonder when is that week when he's finally gonna learn. All right, I cannot do this anymore, and I gotta move on. Figure a way past that. That's I think the big key for him. And then the other thing is too, depending on what kind of happens with Gettleman, it's it would be a tough spot too. New GM, unless if somebody actually in the Giants organization takes is hired instead of somebody going outside. If an outside guy comes in and wants his new quarterback, and again, it sounds like Joe Judge does like Daniel Jones, so but who knows if that option is there. I don't think you guys are going to be at that spot. I think you guys are going to win a couple games. So I think by the time you get picked, I think Fields and Lawrence will be off the board. Maybe Trey Lance would be there, but I would think Fields, Lawrence would be off the board.
Probably at that point. We'll see what ends up happening at the end of the season. Obviously, Gettleman will be fired at the end of the year because if Daniel Jones played like this last year, Gettleman would have easily been fired. The only reason Gettleman kept his job is because Daniel Jones didn't play poorly last year. He showed flashes of great that he could be the guy. And Gettleman's pick again, Gettleman might have gotten the pick right. That's the only reason Gettleman ended up keeping his job, and he stayed, and Pat Shurmur didn't. And the thing is, even with his weapons, I'm actually a bigger Darius Slayton fan than a lot of people are. I think he's actually pretty good. I saw him get open at times on a Monday night, and Jones not hit him. And I like Sterling Shepard too. But the problem with Sterling Shepard is he just can't stay healthy. But it will be interesting to see what ends up happening with the Giants throughout the rest of the season. See how many games they win. I mean, if they're not in any position to take Fields or Lawrence, I'm definitely giving third year. But we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, definitely. I think you would have to give him third year if you're not in that spot. I think you got Shepard if you could stay on the field. I was surprised you didn't get rid of Golden Tate yesterday, and then him and
Zeitler, but maybe that was surprising to me. But I don't know if anybody really wanted him because Zeitler's had his worst season. Both have had their worst seasons in a while this year.
Yeah, and then Darius Slayton, he's been a really solid weapon for you guys, and that's been a good pick by Gettleman because he was a 4th or 5th rounder too. That's been a solid pick for him. And then it's like Evan Ingram shows flashes like last night or Monday night.
I really don't want to hear about Evan Ingram. I'm kind of done with Evan Ingram right now. After that drop in Philadelphia, I know he made that catch the other night on down the sideline, but I'm done with Evan Ingram. I don't want to hear about Evan Ingram. I'm done.
He can get some hands. He would be good.
I know. That's the problem. That's been his problem since he came to the league. He's got 21 drops since he came to the league. Most of any tight end. He just has no consistency at all. And I am done with him. I'm still mad about the Philly game. I'm done with Evan Ingram right now.
Yeah, you and the Giants fans I'm friends with too. They're not. They're all done with Ingram as well.
So enough talking about my awful team, and let's get to all the games on Sunday, and we'll start with the Ravens and the Colts. And before we kind of get to the game, unfortunately, 7 players have been impacted by I don't think Marlon Humphrey did test positive for COVID-19, but there have been players that have been in close contact with Humphrey I think they're on. I think they're on like they've been isolated or something. I'm not sure what's happening. High risk close contact to Marlon Humphrey. But for the game, obviously Marlon Humphrey's not going to play. We hope he's doing well, obviously. And for the game, I think this is going to be a really close competitive game. The Colts, I saw this last year with them. They got off to a hot start. They played well. My concern there, though, is always going to be the quarterback. I think Phillip Rivers is past his prime. I do think this is a close competitive game with the Ravens. I think that the Ravens have a little bit of trouble running the ball because the Colts stopped the run pretty well. But I do think they get enough rushing yards. I think that Lamar Jackson makes enough plays on offense. I think the Colts do get some plays from Phillip Rivers in the passing game, getting the ball to T.Y. Hilton, getting the ball to Pascal. I think he makes some plays in the passing game. I do think they have a little bit of success running the ball too. But in this game, I'm going to take the better quarterback in a close one. I got the Ravens beating the Colts 23-20.
Yeah, I got Baltimore going the road getting the win 20-17. Baltimore was the first time that a team lost in the last 50 years after they outrushed their opponent by 200 yards and outgained their opponent as well in passing yards, and they still lost. Couple missed opportunities last week for them. this should be another close, low scoring game. I think very quick game because I think both teams are really gonna try to establish a running game, but both teams are really good at stopping the run though. Phillip Rivers, leave it to the Lions to make Phillip Rivers look like he did 10 years ago. He will not have that success this week. He's gonna have to make a couple plays, but I think the Ravens are gonna force some turnovers, even though they won't have Marlon Humphrey. I still think Baltimore is gonna be able make some plays, and I think it's who can hold on to the ball more, who can make the less mistakes to not give up the short field. And I trust Lamar Jackson more than I do Phillip Rivers right now. So I'll go Baltimore getting the win on the road 20-17.
We got an interconference matchup in Kansas City of two of the stars in the NFL with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and Christian McCaffrey and the Carolina Panthers. And I'm pretty sure Christian McCaffrey is going to be back this week for the Carolina Panthers. So if he plays, I think the Panthers will be able to compete a little bit because the one weakness of Kansas City's defense is the linebacker position, and they have trouble stopping the run and have trouble covering running backs out of the backfield. So I think that McCaffrey will do a pretty good job. The Panthers will move the ball, but here's the difference in this game. The Panthers will be kicking field goals, and the Chiefs will be getting touchdowns. And that's why I got the Chiefs winning by double digits. I think Patrick Mahomes has a huge game. Ball to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I think the Chiefs do enough on the ground. And I got the Chiefs to go to 8-1. I got them beating the Panthers 34-22.
Yeah, I get the Chiefs at home 31-21. The Panthers have been a surprise. If they're 3-5 now, they kind of got out the 3-1 start and or 3-2 start. They've lost 3 straight since. But this team that's playing hard and has exceeded pretty much a lot of people's expectations. I think they keep this close for a while, especially they get McCaffrey back, and then even Mike Davis, they can kind of compliment him. Because who knows how much they're going to actually use McCaffrey first week back from injury. They'll have some success. I was so shocked that the Chiefs only had 50 rushing yards last week against the Jets. I thought they were going to use Le'Veon Bell much more than they did. But I think Carolina's secondary is going to really struggle this week against the Chiefs, and Mahomes should put up some points. And I'll go with the Chiefs 31-21.
We got an NFC North matchup in Minnesota as the 3-4 Lions visit the 2-5 Vikings. And I think this is a close competitive game in the division. I think Dalvin Cook has another huge game on the ground and through the air, which means Kirk Cousins will have a good game against the Lions defense. But I do think Matthew Stafford has a good game too. I think the Lions run the football pretty well, and I think Stafford has a big game through the air too. But I'm going to take the better coach team, even though Stafford's better than Kirk Cousins. I'm taking Mike Zimmer any day of the week and twice on Sunday over Matt Patricia. And I got the Vikings beating the Lions 31-26 in Minnesota.
Yeah, I got the Vikings 30-24. They kind of looked like the Vikings team I think we all thought we were going to see this year. But, it hasn't been so far. But the way they, Dalvin Cook coming back off injury, off a bye, looked really fresh and, just unstoppable. And it's going to probably be pretty much the same this week. I don't see the Lions having much success stopping them. And I think they'll keep the ball out of Stafford's hands. Kenny Galladay is going to be out. I think they're 3-1 with they're 3-1 with them. They're 0-3 without him. So I think that they're also going to struggle missing him in that offense. So I'm going to take the Vikings to get the win at home.
We have an interconference matchup in Atlanta between the Broncos and the Falcons. But before we talk about that, well, unfortunately, we heard news yesterday that John Elway tested positive for COVID-19. Obviously, everybody knows who John Elway is. Obviously, the one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, probably top 5. Obviously, the best quarterback in the history of the Broncos franchise. Obviously, unfortunately, he tested positive for COVID-19. We hope he's doing well right now. Obviously, he's in isolation. We hope he's doing well. And our thoughts and prayers are out to him at the moment right now.
Yeah, of course. Mentioned one of the great quarterbacks in NFL history. So, hopefully he's safe, healthy, well, and has a quick recovery.
Here's the ironic thing. The Broncos are playing the Falcons this week. And in John Elway's last game of his career, he beat the Falcons to win a second Super Bowl, and he was the MVP in that game. I know you were maybe a little young to remember that because I think that was the year you were born, but That was John Elway's final game he ever played was against the Falcons to win the Super Bowl.
They said that. I did not know that.
That was Jamal Anderson and the Dirty Birds. He actually beat his former coach, Dan Reeves, too, because Dan Reeves was his coach back in the 80s when they made those 3 Super Bowls and lost to the Giants, Redskins, and Niners. That was interesting fact there. That was his last game was against the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's nice. I did not know that. Nice tidbit. It's kind of ironic that they're playing the Falcons this week. It's pretty kind of cool. Cool fact.
But we just hope Elway's resting well. We hope he's doing well. For the game, though, I think this is going to be a fun game. I think this is going to be a really fun, exciting game. Because I thought the Broncos started to find their groove on offense in the second half last week against the Raiders. Drew Lock played well in the second half. He was really good. I think he was going to get the ball to Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler, my guy from Penn State, got the game-winning touchdown last week. And I think he has a good game this week, too. I think Matt Ryan makes his plays as well. I think he gets Julio Jones involved. We don't know if Calvin Ridley's going to play, but if he plays, I think he'll have his yards, too. But in a close competitive game, I'm going with the Broncos in the upset. I got the Broncos beating the Falcons 31-27.
Yeah, I got the Broncos too, 27-26. The second half, Broncos offense looked good, but the Chargers do what the Chargers do best and choke games away. For the Broncos too, they're like -7 so right now, the turnover margin. They got to be better at that this week. They got to start, getting better. Locke's got to be right at the ball. Thought he was in the second half. I think they definitely found a rhythm that second half, and I think it was a huge confidence boost for Locke to have that come back there and get the win. And then for Atlanta, they surprised me last week. They look good, but I just don't know what Falcons team's going to show up week in and week out. Are we going to get that team that we saw against the Vikings and Panthers? Or are we going to get that team that we saw, lose to the Lions and just blow all the games? You just don't know what Falcons team you're going to get this week. And that's why I don't really trust them. And I'm going to go with the Broncos to go on the road and get the win.
Got another interconference matchup in Tennessee as the 5-3 Bears visit the 6-2 Titans. And this is an interesting game. But I think the one weakness of the Bears defense is their run defense. That's why Derrick Henry is going to have a big game. I think Derrick Henry has a big game on the ground, just like he's had the last couple of weeks. And Ryan Tannehill gets the ball to A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and Jonnu Smith. So he has a big day there. I do think Nick Foles competes in this game, though. As you saw last week, Nick Foles, the Bears game was weird last week. They got off to because everybody watched the game because it was on Fox. It was the 4:25 game. So they got off to that real hot start. And then they completely self-destructed with you saw Javon Wims getting thrown out of the game by punching Gardner Johnson in the head. You saw the delayed game penalties. You saw the Bears defense give up a score at the end of the half. So the Bears self-destructed in parts of that game. Got down 23-13, and then Nick Foles fought back to his credit, and they ended up and they tied the game. But then eventually the Saints ended up winning. So I do think Nick Foles competes in this game. He might turn the ball over once, but I think he competes in this game, and I think he makes some plays because the Titans defense has a lot of problems getting off the field on third down. I think Foles gets the ball to Allen Robinson and uses Montgomery in the passing game, and I do think the Bears compete. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback and the better coach, and I got the Titans beating the Bears 27-20.
Yeah, I got the Titans winning this one 24-20. I need to be close. I think the Titans are going to control the game on the ground and keep the Bears offense off the field. You called the Bengals upset over the Titans, didn't you, last week?
No.
No, you didn't? No. Why did I thought you picked that one? I thought you
No, I didn't. I thought here's what I thought. I thought the Bengals would compete with the Titans. I thought they'd put up points and compete, but I didn't think they were going to beat the Titans. But I did think they'd compete. I wasn't surprised they scored 31 points because I picked them to score some points in that game. But I didn't expect Ryan Tannehill to play the way he did against the Bengals. That's why I thought the Titans were going to win.
Okay, yeah. That was a very surprising game last week. Titans really didn't show up, and I think Mike Vrabel is going to have him ready to go this week. I think, as you're saying, Bears really aren't great stopping the run on defense. I can definitely see Foles making a play or two. I just don't, I don't know if I trust Nick Foles in a game. I don't know if I trust Nick Foles right now with this. I guess I feel bad for Allen Robinson. If he had a better quarterback, he's played there and he had Blake Bortles. You
felt bad for him his whole career. And he's a Penn State guy, so I like him. Yeah, Blake Bortles in Jacksonville. Now he's had Nick Trubisky and now Nick Foles. He's never had a quarterback in his career. I mean, I'd say Nick Foles isn't terrible, but he's not really had a very good quarterback in his career.
No, he hasn't. It'd be cool. It'd be interesting to find out if he did ever get an actual quarterback to play with. And then for the Titans, I was kind of wrong because I thought Clowney was kind of gonna get going last week because the Bengals had 4 offensive starters out too, and they still couldn't get him.
Again, there's a reason Clowney didn't get signed until Labor Day. That guy he's completely overrated. Only had 3 sacks for the Seahawks last year. He is so overrated. It's unreal.
Yeah, he hasn't turned out like everybody kind of thought that him and Watt were gonna have down in Houston, and I just still couldn't believe that Tennessee could not get 1 sack on him. So I think Foles is gonna have some time, but Tennessee will be able to win this game.
We have an AFC South matchup in Jacksonville with 2 1-6 teams, the 1-6 Texans, the 1-6 Jaguars. But I think this game is a mismatch. That's because Gardner Minshew was out for the Jags, and Deshaun Watson is playing for the Jaguars and the Texans. And I mean for the Texans, and the Texans didn't trade Will Fuller. So I think Deshaun Watson has a big week against this Jacksonville defense. I think he carves them, tears them apart. I think the Texans score over 30 points. And on offense for the Jaguars, I think they make some plays because the Texans defense isn't that good. I think Robinson has some yards on the ground, but the thing is with the backup quarterback, they're going to game plan to stop James Robinson. So I got the Texans winning this one big. I got the Texans 34-17 over the Jags.
I got Houston win this one on the road, 28-17. It's gonna be Jake Luton, the starting quarterback for Jacksonville.
Do you know where do you go to school? You sure? Oh, so you've probably seen him play.
Yeah. Last year he played well, like 28 touchdowns to 3 interceptions.
What's his skill? What's his skill set?
He's got very good poise, strong arm, and he's accurate. And then Jay Gruden was saying too, I guess during camp, he was the biggest surprise during camp, and he had a really good camp. Doesn't make makes good decisions. Again, now being in the NFL, we'll see what happens, but not really, more of a pocket passer type guy. Not really gonna run all over the place on you. But he had a really good year last year. For a Beavers team that wasn't great. But for the game, because Jacksonville last time had chances to beat Houston, and they just couldn't capitalize on them. They struggled in the red zone. I think they, even had a couple 4th downs that they didn't convert in the Houston zone, territory. But I think Houston's going to have a big week against this Jacksonville defense.
We got an interesting matchup in Buffalo as the Seahawks head all the way to Buffalo to face the Bills. And this should be a fun, exciting game. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a day against the Buffalo defense. I know they might not have Chris Carson, but I think Russell Wilson has a day with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and they put up over 30 points. And I think this is the game where Joe Pointon's going to get backed up about Josh Allen being a top 5 quarterback because he's going to put up a ton of points. He's going to put up a ton of yards. I think Josh Allen's going to have a big day getting the ball to Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. I think this is a game that goes back and forth. It goes back and forth, really high scoring. But I got the Seahawks because I picked them every game this year. I got the Seahawks beating the Bills 34-31.
Yeah, I got the Seahawks on the road 34-30. This should be a fun shootout. And the last few weeks in the Bills, I kind of thought, maybe, like 2 weeks ago against the Jets, I thought, all right, just sleepwalking, getting ready with the Patriots. But I really have not liked what I saw from this Bill team the last few weeks. And kind of disappointed. I know they're still 6-2, but they really haven't played like they're a 6-2 team the last few weeks. There is no way they're going to stop DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. There's going to be a lot of big plays. A lot of, both quarterbacks are going to go deep, throw deep. But this should definitely be a fun shootout, back and forth game. But Seattle, they're great every time it seems like for a 1 o'clock game. So I don't worry about them traveling East Coast for an early kick. And I'm going to take Seattle. I think they get enough stops, and I think, Russell Wilson makes less mistakes than Josh Allen does in this game.
We got a matchup of 2 of the most popular teams in the NFL as the Steelers head down to Dallas to face the Cowboys. And yes, these are 2 popular teams, but I don't think this game is going to be good at all. I mean, the Steelers have a really good defense. Big Ben's been playing really well. And I think he's going to get the ball to Chase Claypool. And and Juju Smith-Schuster. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. The Steelers will win this game by any score they really want because they could be sitting starters in the fourth quarter. That's how big I think they beat the Cowboys. I don't care who plays quarterback for the Cowboys. If I know it's not going to be Ben DiNucci, he got benched. If it's Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush, I do not care at all who plays quarterback for the Cowboys. The Cowboys have been absolutely terrible the last 3 weeks, and I think that continues this week. I got the Steelers winning this game big. I got them winning 31-6 over the Cowboys.
I got the Steelers going over 27-10. It's only the second time in the Super Bowl era that the Dallas Cowboys are a double-digit favorite at home, and I think so it's very rare. But yeah, I think Garrett Gilbert played his college ball or transferred to SMU. So
I remember Garrett Gilbert. Where I remember Garrett Gilbert the most. The national championship game that 1 year against Alabama when Colt McCoy got hurt. And he came in as a true freshman. He lit up for some reason. He actually lit up Alabama. But that became a highlight of his career.
Yeah, that's about it. And then I forgot who took his job.
Who knows? Because Texas was so bad after that.
Yeah. And then he went to SMU afterwards, and he lit it up at SMU. But so playing college ball close to where he played, playing Sunday if he gets a start. But I saw some signs of life for the Cowboys a little bit on Sunday.
Dude, Justin. That's because Carson Wentz was absolutely terrible on Sunday night. That's why.
Yeah, he was. Like Diggs. Trevon Diggs had 2 picks. Like there's
Trevon Diggs is not good at all. Come on, those picks were thrown right to him. Come on.
They were, but I'm just trying to confidence from the Cowboys.
Yeah, I know, bro. I know.
But this is gonna be a blowout. James Conner, Benny Snell Jr. They should just dominate on the ground. As long as this should be ugly. The 27-10 and the Stros continue in Dallas. I wonder how many boos we'll hear Sunday too.
Oh, he'll be hearing some boos because there'll be fans in the stand. No, but the thing is there'll probably be more Steeler fans than Cowboy fans in that game. I bet
there probably will be. You're probably right about that.
Yeah, there'll be more Steeler fans than Cowboy fans. The Cowboy fans don't want to go there to watch Garrett Gilbert. Steeler fans, the way they're playing right now, that they'll go anywhere to watch their team play.
Yeah, and they'll go invade Jerry's world. That would be
I think they'll take over Jerry World on Sunday. I could see that.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm with you.
Yeah. It'll be Heinz Field South on Sunday, in my opinion.
Yeah, yes, it will be.
So since we're talking about the Steelers, you're hearing a lot of this. They're the best team in the NFL, and I do think the Steelers are a really good team and a Super Bowl contender. But they're not better than the Kansas City Chiefs, and here's my reason why. You look at their defense. I'm not saying great because it's not great. It's a really good defense, but it still has given up 20 points a game. This is a defense that's given up 20 points over 5 times this season. 5 times they've given up over 20 points, and they gave up 29 points to the Eagles. It's just very hard for me not to see if they play Kansas City, the Chiefs don't put up 30 points. I see the Chiefs still putting up points against them, and I just don't think Big Ben could keep up with the Chiefs. That's why I still think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL and in the AFC.
Yeah, I think they're neck and neck. I think, obviously Big Ben can't keep up with Pat Mahomes anymore. That's obvious. But I think, I could see Pitt at Heinz Field maybe knocking him off if they could run the ball successfully and just keep Mahomes off the field. I could see that happening. But I think the Steelers are right there. But I just think KC and you just add Pat Mahomes and their defense. I know. Linebacker, they're kind of weak and all that, but their defense still has gotten better under Spagnuolo. So I still think, the Chiefs are the best team in football right now. I would put Seattle there too, but their defense is even worse than KC, so I can't do that right now. But I put Pittsburgh up there, but I think KC is just a little bit better than them and just a little bit more exposed to them. I would be a little bit more confident Steelers too if Devin Bush didn't get hurt as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Something we'll definitely be talking about throughout the next couple months. Who is the best team, and it'll get decided in January. But we'll go back to picks, and we got another ton of interconference matchups this week. Ton of AFC NFC matchups. We got another one in Arizona with probably 2 of the most interesting young quarterbacks in the game. You got Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins. You got Kyler Murray for the Cardinals. Rematch of that college football semifinal a couple of years ago when they went up against each other. And I think this is a close, competitive game between these two teams. But I think that I'm going to take the more experienced quarterback in this game. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I think that Murray. I know the Dolphins' defense has played well, but they do struggle a little bit against the run. I think they're going to struggle stopping Kyler Murray, especially in the run game. I think Kyler Murray's going to have a big day in the run game. He'll make some plays in the pass game to DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk. And on the flip side, I think Tua has some success in this game. We don't know what kind of player Tua is going to be because he really didn't do much in the Dolphins' first game. A lot of the Dolphins' points were on Rams' mistakes, Rams' turnovers, and special teams. So Tua didn't do that much, but I do think Tua has a pretty good game. I think this is a close, competitive game, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals to beat the Dolphins 26-20.
Yeah, I got the Cardinals at home winning this one 31-24. Yeah, they didn't really need Tua to do a lot. Just manage the game and just kind of, he only 93 passing yards, only threw the ball like 23 times. So his defense really helped out. Again, if they can force Murray into some mistakes, which, he's made some of them this year, I think Dolphins definitely have a chance to go in there and knock off the Cardinals. But I just think, even without Drake for the Cardinals, I still think they'll be able to run the ball against them. And I think that will be the difference in the game. But I think this could be a good one. It's good, two very good young starting quarterbacks as well in this one.
Absolutely. We got an AFC West matchup in LA as the Raiders head to LA to face the Chargers. And I think the Raiders from Vegas head to LA to face the Chargers. And I think this is an interesting game. I think this game's going to be back and forth with a lot of points because Bosa's probably not going to play for the Chargers. I think Derek Carr is a big game getting the ball to Darren Waller and Henry Ruggs. Josh Jacobs has a big game on the ground. And on the flip side, I think Justin Herbert has a huge game. He's been playing really, really well for the Chargers. And I think in a really, really close competitive game, I'm going to go with the Raiders to win 34-30 over the Chargers. And it'll be another game that the Chargers, with Anthony Lynn, lose close.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got the Raiders 30-27. The Chargers have lost 8 straight divisional games. I think it moves to 9 this week. And I think that, that game last week against the Broncos changed too when Bosa went out. I think when the tide really turned on the Chargers. And I think,
yeah, I mean, there's a reason they pay him $27 million a year. He's one of the top pass rushers in the league.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it was a big difference maker, I feel like, in that game. Even though the Chargers still, even that they lost them, they can't lose that game. That's no excuse. They should have taken care of business on the road in Denver last week. Again, feel bad for Justin Herbert, but again, I guess he did throw an interception in the end zone though, which wasn't but Raiders, I think Josh Jacobs got going last week on the ground, in that just very windy game out in Cleveland last week, ugly kind of game. I think they'll be able to do it again, especially if Bosa is out. And I'm going to go with the Raiders to go on the road and move to 5-3.
AB is back he will be playing. He is activated. He'll be playing as the Bucks take on the Saints this week. And before we get into the game, I'll ask this question and I'll give my opinion on this. With the addition of AB, are the Bucks the best team in the NFC? And I saw them play Monday night, and I'm going to say no. And here's my reason why. And watching the Buccaneers, they got one of the top front sevens in football. That secondary is still very, very – even though they got some decent players with Carlton Davis and Antoine Winfield Jr., that secondary is very, very questionable. And I think if they play a team like Seattle's going to expose them. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they have no one who could stop those two guys. So that's why I think the Buccaneers are really good. I think they're the second best team in the NFC. I think Brady's played well, but Brady's played really well. But he's not Russell Wilson right now, and I just think that Tampa Bay in the secondary is going to have trouble covering the Seahawks receivers. And even with the addition of AB, I still have the Seahawks as the best team in the NFC.
For me, it's close. I think because I know Seattle's got Jamal Adams in secondary, but I want to see how much Tampa uses AB and how much I know they could probably use him on Sunday night, but because I think they do have a couple more weapons. I know Brady's not Russell Wilson. Maybe for the sake of the argument, I'll go with Tampa just because they have so many weapons. And I think if their front seven, I know they didn't, they got to Daniel Jones at times the other night, but if they could, really fluster, I guess it's tough to fluster Russell Wilson, but if they could somehow get in there and just force them to throw some balls away and make some tough throws. I think Tampa could beat them just because they really only have Jamal Adams for the Seahawks in the secondary, and if AB can stay healthy, if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin could all stay healthy, and with their running game, and for the right now too, I guess it's especially if Tampa too comes on the whole field. Tampa, if they get to play a home game, maybe more of an edge than if Tampa goes to Seattle and Seattle can't still have fans. Could be a difference. And Brady's been so good in the playoffs, even though Russell's been good too. It's tough to pick against Brady in the playoffs, but I think Tampa's just even though they didn't look good the other night, and it's kind of seems like it's really hit or miss with them. If they play like they did against the Packers, they definitely are. But they play against like they did the other night, then and like they did the first time against the Saints and the Bears, then it's like maybe in Seattle is the best team in the NFC. It for me it kind of depends what Tampa Bay team we get that given day.
Absolutely. But first, before they can be the best team in the NFC, they got to be the best team in their division. And that's why they got a huge game this week as they host the Saints. As they host the Saints. So this is going to be a really, really big game for both these two teams. Obviously, the Saints beat them earlier in the year. And in this game, I think the addition of AB is going to help the Bucs. I think, the Tom Brady's going to have a big game getting the ball to Mike Evans. The Saints secondaries we saw against the Bears is very questionable. I think Tom Brady gets the ball to Mike Evans, and that's a big game. And for the Saints, the problem is Drew Brees just cannot get the ball, push the ball down the field. I think that's just a problem for the Saints. Even though Alvin Kamara is great, he's electric, he's great in the pass game. You could run the ball with him. He's so versatile. I just don't think if Michael Thomas doesn't play, it depends on if Thomas playing or not is going to be big in this game, because I think Thomas can make some plays against this Tampa secondary. But if Thomas doesn't play, that's going to be a big loss. That's going to really hurt the Saints in this game. They're not playing the Lions. They're not playing the Bears. They're not playing the Chargers. They're playing the Bucs this week, and I think that it's going to be a close, competitive game. But I got the Bucs beating the Saints 31-24.
Yeah, I got Tampa win this one 28-20. It could be a little bit closer. Michael Thomas plays. Who knows what if he will or not. For Tampa, really the big difference was there's a couple, I guess. Brady just chemistry wise wasn't there week one. They had a couple turnovers that really hurt them. Penalties hurt them week one. I think this is a different team than week one, even though they didn't look great Monday night. I think this is a team, I think this is the Bucs team we're going to kind of see against the Packers. I think we're going to see a much, much better game from them. Be interesting to see how much they use AB in this one. But I think, Tampa is going to play much better than they did the first time around. Even if Mike Thomas did play, I think they held them like 3 catches. But I think Tampa at home will be able to find a way to get revenge from the week one loss where they looked awful.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So we'll see what happens this week. We'll see what happens with our picks. I mean, you're right now. You're leading CMG. You're at 87. You're at 87. You're at 81, 37-1. I'm against you at 80, 38-1. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with our picks in the second half of the year.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. So somehow 1 game lead, but I know we have a couple differences this week. So we definitely could take the lead this week. Yeah,
we'll see what happens there. But we got to go to college football, and we got another COVID issue in college football. The Wisconsin COVID issue continues as they canceled their game this week against Purdue, and really, this is really going to impact this Big Ten. It's with only playing 6 games. If they miss one more game, they won't even be eligible for the Big Ten championship. So this is a real big impact on, especially the Big Ten West. How are you really going to pick a champion with a bunch of teams playing different games? It's going to be really, really weird. Picking a Big Ten West champion and having to play, probably having to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. So it's just really, really weird what's going on right now. But for Wisconsin, you got to do what's the best for the kids. You got to do what's best for the kids. And I give credit to Barry Alvarez. He's doing what's best for the kids, and he's calling games off for the safety of his team. And he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, he is. They're up to 27 cases, I believe. That was as of yesterday. But yeah, and I think the Big Ten all along, and I think even the Pac-12 probably should have done it. It's too late now, but I think they should have done what the ACC did this year and just make one big conference and do it what the Big 12 does. The best two go, play for the championship, and then you could have done 3-4 versus each other, 5-6, and done it that way instead of division. Because I think Wisconsin's a really good team. If they all can get healthy, they all come back. I think Wisconsin's a solid team. They kind of found their quarterback, but yeah, it's tough. Like if they run the table, they go undefeated. They play 6 games. They play a 7th. I guess it's the same amount as a big Pac-12 would be if they all can get their 6-7 games in here. But yeah, it's tough to tell and kind of get a read on teams. But it was smart, and I get it too, because the Big Ten. And one of the reasons why the Big Ten did 21 days kind of to let a player back on the field is the Big Ten medical teams wanted their players to get that 3rd week in so that they could kind of get conditioning and they kind of lower the risk for injuries instead of having them kind of come back maybe after a few days of practice and then, play and maybe risking an injury instead. So that's why they did the 21 days, which is smart, but at the same time, you're missing half the season. But it's tough to have back-to-back weeks like this being canceled. That's why it was a tough spot, and they waited too long to start.
Yeah, they really should have given themselves some pad. The problem is they gave themselves no pad. They pretty much had to play pretty much 8 regular season games and 1 postseason game, and they pretty much had to play 9 games in 9 weeks. They gave themselves no pad, and that's a problem. And they just that's why that was poorly scheduled. I think they should have started probably the week before. I think that would have really helped the conference doing that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It would have helped out. It would have gave you that leeway. If you do need to reschedule a game, you could do it. But yeah, they didn't give themselves that. And we're going to probably see the same thing starting this week in the Pac-12. We're probably one team I would feel like is, unfortunately, probably going to have the same issue.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I would want to disagree with you, but I don't think I can. It's COVID. It continues to spread, and it's going to affect our sport, all of sports, probably for at least the next probably 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Unfortunately.
Yep.
Right.
But we got to get to the games this week in college football. We're gonna talk about some games we're gonna talk about some Friday night games, and we got the number 11 Miami Hurricanes heading to NC State to face the NC State Wolfpack. And in this game, I think Miami wins. I think De'Ara King plays well. I think he plays well. I think Miami's defense plays well, and I got Miami winning by 2 scores over NC State.
Yeah, I got Miami 38-17. Since NC State lost their starting quarterback, Devin Lear, they've really struggled in back-to-back games too. They've given up throwing their rushing yards. Miami loves to be able to run the football on you, and I think they're going to be able to do exactly that in this game. NC State's been banged up, so they just had a bye here to kind of get healthy. So they may get a couple guys back, but it won't be enough. Sometimes these Friday night games are weird in college football.
Yeah, we saw last week with Maryland beating Minnesota.
Yeah, that was a crazy one, and but I still think Miami should take care of business on the road. Still trying to be in the hunt there for the ACC championship game.
Got a West Coast what's this, Mountain West with BYU and Boise State. What's that, a WAC or Mountain West or interconference?
Yeah, interconference. Because BYU's an independent.
Okay. Oh, they're an independent this year.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Yeah,
because it was weird because I saw Boise State only played 2 games.
Yeah, Mountain West started the same week. The Big Ten did.
Oh, okay. Okay, so but interesting game. You got Zach Wilson going to play Boise State, and this should be a really, really interesting game. But I'm going with the team with the quarterback I know and the better quarterback, and I'm going with BYU over Boise State. But do you like Boise State though? Do you think they should be ranked 21st?
What I saw from them last week, they could score points. They gave up 400 yards rushing though against Air Force last week, which does worry me a bit, but they're still, their offense again is still, they got some explosiveness on offense. But I am going to take BYU to go on the road and get the win 35-31. Zach Wilson was actually a Boise State commit at one point, decommitted after he got a scholarship to BYU. So he knows he's kind of coming to this game with, Boise kind of going to give him some noise here for decommitting. But this BYU team is for real. They really step on the gas. And then a great story too is Dax Mellon, who was a former walk-on, leads the team this year with like 42 catches and 6 touchdowns. He's explosive. They also have Gunnar Rodney, who's one of their top guys as well. So BYU, this team's for real, and this is their one kind of they're supposed to play Army and was at the time the top 25 team. That got canceled. This is their one really showcase game here against the top 25 opponent to kind of show what they're made of. And I believe in this BYU team. I think they're a really good team. Boise State, the quarterback is a question in this game. It's either Jack Spears played last week. He played well, the USC transfer, or it's going to be Hank Backemeyer, who played week 1, but was out last week. It was like this. They didn't really announce why. So that's a question of who's playing quarterback, but I'll take BYU on the road.
The Pac-12 is back, and a rare 9 a.m. start for both these teams as Arizona State faces USC. I know Herm Edwards will have his team playing. I like Marvin Lewis as the defensive coordinator, but I got to go with the more talented team. I'm going with the Trojans over the Sun Devils.
I'm actually going to take the upset here. I'm going to go with Arizona State.
Ooh.
I think the winner of this game wins the Pac-12 South.
Wow.
And I like Arizona State better than USC. I think it's coaching wise. I think I really like Herm Edwards, what he's done. And Jaden Daniels coming in. They brought in a new OC, Zach Hill from Boise State to kind of and it's going to be more tailored to Jaden Daniels' type because he's a dual threat type of quarterback. They did lose their top back, Benjamin and Brandon Ayuk, but they got some young weapons. Their secondary is very, very deep, and I think they make enough plays to beat USC. I just don't know about Clay Helton. There's a new AD. I think there's a new president. It is a make or break year for him. Caden Slovis played well last year as a freshman. It's a running back committee when they do run the ball. It's they got 3 or 4 guys they can go to. Tyler Vaughn and Ahmad Ross St. Brown are 2 of the best wide receivers. They're 2 of the top wide receiver core in the country, I feel like. But this team gave up a lot of big plays. Tyler Orlando, I don't remember. You remember he used to be the D coordinator at UConn while Randy was here. So so I do like him, but he didn't really get any spring or summer here to bring in his new, kind of game plan here for USC. Really showed defensively. I think Arizona State makes enough plays. And then the kind of last thing, I think this is smart by the Pac-12 to do these 12 o'clock kicks. I know it's 9 a.m. locally, but there's no fans this year. If your ratings are good, this is going to be a permanent thing. Instead of these 10:30 kickoffs where nobody on the East Coast is really watching much.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening there. I mean, I think it's a little too early to have kids get up and play at 9 a.m., but we'll see. If the ratings are good, they're probably going to continue to do it, but I disagree with it because I just don't think kids should be getting up at 9 a.m. to play a college football game. But we got to go to the Big Ten, and we got Michigan and Indiana. And, yes, I'm not being a sour sport because Indiana, beat Penn State. But I do think Michigan wins this game because even though Indiana beat Penn State, they were not great offensively in that game. And I do think Michigan bounces back this week. I think this is a close competitive game, and I'm going to go with Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines to beat Indiana.
I'm going to go with another, I guess, I know in the rankings it's not an upset, but I'm going to go with the team that's the underdog.
You like Michael Penix Jr.
I do, and I don't like Jim Harbaugh right now. I don't like the defense. I don't know how much you watched, but they didn't make any adjustments defensively, and they just left their cornerbacks on an island last week, and they didn't really ever go zone. They just kept sticking to man-to-man. I don't know if Michigan's going to change their philosophy this week. I'm anticipating they're not. I think Indiana makes enough plays offensively, and they've been great. I know Michigan has not turned the ball over yet, but Indiana has forced 6 turnovers, and they've capitalized scoring 27 points off of them. If Indiana could force some turnovers, they're very good at capitalizing off of them. I think they'll be able to do the same thing this week, and I think they'll make Joe Milton. Joe Milton's been good. You really can't put blame on for last week. And then Indiana has lost 24 straight games in the series. I think it's time to I think they'll break it this year, that streak finally. And then the last thing is too, I forgot to mention this a couple weeks ago. There's strength, and this is just credit to Tom Allen and how he's really built this program. Their strength and conditioning coach last year, Nick Saban took their Indiana's old strength and conditioning coach back in January. So he's doing things right when Nick Saban's coming and taking guys from your program.
He absolutely is. He absolutely is doing things right when that happens. But we got to go to a huge SEC matchup with Florida and Georgia. This is a top 10 matchup. I think the winner of this game is in the driver's seat to win the SEC East. The loser is done and out of contention for the college football playoff. And I'm gonna steal a line from David Pollock that he stole on College Game Day. What he said on College Game Day last week, and I think he's referring to the college game when he says this. Defense doesn't win championships anymore. And I think this is going to be true in this game because I think that Kyle Trask is a better quarterback than Stetson Bennett. And that's going to be the reason why Florida wins this game. And I got Florida upsetting them. I got Florida winning. Like I got Trask and Pitts having a big game. Stetson Bennett will make some plays, but I think he'll make some mistakes just like he did against Alabama. And I got Florida winning this game. I got Florida winning it 27-24 over Georgia. If there's a year for Florida to beat Georgia, this is it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I took Florida to win the SEC East this year. So if they want to win the East, they got to win this game. So I'm with Florida. Both teams are going to miss some defensive starters. For Florida, they're missing Zachary Carter, Antoine Powell. Georgia's missing 5 defensive players this week. So they're really banged up. And I think that's really going to help out Florida, especially one of them is their starting safety, Richard LeCounty, who had 13 tackles last week and forced a fumble. He was in a accident on Saturday night, I believe. So hopefully he does, he's doing well. But I think this is the year for Florida. They got to win this year. And Dan Mullen in the last few weeks is not really has been popular with the national attention with what some of the stuff he's been doing. And as long as Florida can get to the quarterback and they can get off the field on third down. The one worry I have for this game is Florida doesn't have a running game like Alabama does, where they can counter off that. If Florida can't do that, they're in trouble. But I think they'll do it well enough with Georgia missing, half their defense of starters, and I think they'll be able to pull it out finally for Gator fans.
Pac-12 matchup in Eugene this week as Stanford plays Oregon, and I don't know as much about I haven't really followed Stanford much in the offseason. Oregon, I think, is going to be a really good team again because they do get the running back coming back, CJ Verdell. They got the really good left tackle, and they got the really good left tackle too. So I think this is a game where Oregon wins by 2 scores because Stanford's coming off a 4-8 season. I think that program's kind of fallen off. I like David Shaw, but I think the program's fallen off. I got Oregon beating Stanford.
Yeah, I got Oregon as well in this one. I got them 28-21. Stanford last year, their first losing season since 2008. So it's been a while. And they lost a lot of guys that, left and grad transferred somewhere else. Oregon did lose a couple of pieces that opted out. And so and the starting quarterbacks in question right now, it's either going to be Anthony Brown, the BC transfer, or Tyler Shaw or Shu, the sophomore. One of those two are going to be the starting quarterback. That hasn't been announced yet. But they got Johnny Johnson back, who had 7 touchdowns last year. They got, CJ Verdell was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. So I think Oregon early on, this is going to be close, but I think the Ducks should be able to pull it out.
We got the game of the night as Clemson. I know they're not going to have Trevor Lawrence. Clemson goes to Notre Dame to face the Irish, and I'm not going to even pronounce his last name. I'm just going to say DJ. And here's the first time I remember DJ. I watched that Netflix documentary for he went to St. Bosco Prep in California, and Real Mitchell left the team, and DJ became the starter. And I think since then he's just completely taken off. But I think this game is a close, competitive game. But here's the thing. I think Notre Dame lost too much on offense. I think they missed Chase Claypool. I think they missed Cole Kmet on offense. And I think Clemson's got the better offense. And even though they don't have Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to take Clemson to win this game. I got Clemson winning it close, even though there's a very good chance both these teams will play again in the ACC championship game.
Yeah, I would love to. I want to take Notre Dame in this one, but I don't think their offense is good enough to beat Clemson. I think it's 28, or I have it 27-20. I would not be shocked to see Notre Dame knock these guys off. The one thing is, though, Tyler Davis was out for Clemson last week. They were also missing 2 other defensive linemen. If they are out and Notre Dame is able to, because Notre Dame right now, they're more of like a power running team, which is, we really haven't seen from Notre Dame in the last few years. but and their offensive line is one of the best in the country. I think Clemson's gonna have trouble.
Yeah, Notre Dame is O-line U. Ronnie Stanley, Zach Martin, Quentin Nelson. There's no debate. Notre Dame, Mike McGlinchey. There's no debate. Notre Dame is O-line U, in my opinion.
Wisconsin, I think, has 24 offensive linemen right now in the NFL.
Yeah.
Them and Notre Dame are right there.
Yeah.
But if Notre Dame, I said this a couple weeks ago when Clemson played Miami. Notre Dame does not have a guy that could stretch the field against Notre Dame. I mean, against Clemson. As you mentioned, they've missed a Claypool in this game. They really haven't had that guy step up yet, and I think that's where they struggle in this game. For Clemson, what Clemson team were you going to get? They should have probably lost last week. They didn't play very well against Syracuse. I know they still won by 26. They didn't play well in the first half against Virginia. They didn't really play well in the first half either against Miami. They're going to have to play a good 60 minutes. This is a good Notre Dame team. They can't sleepwalk in here and expect like what they did to Notre Dame a couple years ago in the college football playoff and beat them 30-0. This is going to be a tough one, but I think Clemson just has a little bit too much for them.
Yeah, it should be a great one on Saturday night between those two teams. But we're going to wrap up the show talking about a little bit of baseball, and we'll start in New York with the Yankees. Obviously, you saw Britton's option. They picked up Britton's options. Happ and Gardner's options were declined. And for me, I agree there. I totally agree with it. Happ and Gardner are too old. Let them walk. And I'm really happy Zach Britton's back because I think there's a very good chance he could be the closer next year.
Yeah, definitely the Happ one kind of saw coming a mile away. Britton, definitely would love to see him take that closer role in next year. Gardy too. But I did hear this on Gardy. It sounds like they're trying once again to bring him back.
Oh, please.
But like on a cheap deal.
No. Take time away from Clint Frazier. No. Please, no.
I know. I definitely agree. Clint should be the starting left fielder. I wouldn't mind it if he comes off the bench and just beats a lefty bat and comes in pitch runs. I wouldn't mind if he wants that role. I wouldn't mind it then. As long as it's a cheap deal and you got the cash for it. As long as you're not taking away from like a DJ LeMahieu or anything.
Yeah, I'll take it, but I don't want him platooning with Frazier all the time. I want Frazier to be in the lineup all the time.
No, yeah, Clint definitely needs to be the everyday left fielder from now on. And they do bring him back. I would hope that more of a guy just comes off the bench, maybe plays like once a week or pitch runs or something, or just a lefty back. We don't have a ton of that either.
Yeah, if they do sign him, I would take him for that, but I don't want him taking time away from Frazier. I just don't want that happening.
Yeah, definitely. It's fine. Yeah, Frazier definitely deserves his time.
Absolutely. But we got another big move in New York, and watch out, NL East. Steve Cohen has bought the Mets, and I'm telling you, this guy's going to spend some money. I'm telling you, the Mets are not going to be the same old Mets. This guy's going to spend. He's in a big market. I think this is a really good match, and I think the Mets. Yeah, people don't want to hear this. I think they're going to be right up there in the NL East for a while because Steve Cohen. This is great news for Mets fans. Awesome news for Mets fans. Friday was a great day to be a Mets fan.
Yeah, it was. And the crazy and think about this too. He didn't like all these other owners who lost money this year. He didn't lose any money. He can go out and go sign whoever he wants this offseason. That's a scary thing. All these teams will lose the money, but he didn't lose any of it. And it definitely is because now the Mets are right up there. And it kind of they always had money, but nothing like they can kind of be the New York Yankees now, the NL East. I feel like they can kind of go get whoever they want now. So yeah, for Met fans, I know he was taking.
No, Joe says the 1 year the one day a year it's usually good to be a Mets fan. Joe said that, yeah.
I don't know, but maybe not. I think they'll definitely be good for years to come now. But it'll exciting. I know exciting time for New York Met fans right now to have this guy.
Absolutely. And we got a couple managers in new managers in Major League Baseball. And here's one that was weird was the White Sox hired Tony La Russa to be their manager. This came with a lot of backlash, especially from the Chicago media. And I don't really understand this either. I know La Russa is a Hall of Fame manager, one of the best managers of our generation. I mean, led the Cardinals to 2 World Series in 2006 and 2011, led the A's to the World Series in 1989. But I just think he was the manager of the White Sox in 1985, and Jerry Reinsdorf is bringing him back to be the to be the manager of the White Sox again. I don't get this. I kind of don't get this move at all. The one thing I might be able to understand about this move is maybe he has a heartbeat for the game and won't rely on analytics enough. But I just think an older manager like this being out of the game for 10 years, even though baseball is a sport where I feel like you could be out for a period of time and it doesn't matter as much as like football or basketball, but still. I don't know how he's going to be able to connect some of the younger stars with Jose Abreu and Eloy Jimenez. But hey, the positive about this move is maybe he won't rely on analytics like some of these younger managers do.
Yeah. He's definitely a guy that's going to go with his gut and probably, tell the analytic guys to go away or something. But yeah, I think this is because Jerry Reinsdorf fired him back in '85. So this feels like, hey, I did you wrong last time. And this feels like a move too, because Reinsdorf 2 is like 85, La Russa's 77. This feels like a 2-year thing. Like, okay, let's go win a championship and then go off in the sunset. I kind of like the idea. He's been, he was with Dombrowski with the Red Sox, so he's been in the game. I think he was somewhere as well this year, maybe he was out this year, but he's kind of been in the Red Sox organization the last few years. I kind of like the move. At first, I didn't know what to think of it, but after the fact, I like it. It's an old school guy. It's definitely gonna be interesting how he relates to all the younger players. But I kind of like it. It's they want a manager that can get them over the top, and I know he's been out of the game for a while, but Tony La Russa can get you to the World Series, and he's third all time in wins. And I think he's pretty close to whoever's second.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. That'll be interesting. But the Tigers also hired a manager, and a manager a lot of us know, AJ Hinch. Obviously, he's back in baseball after being suspended, then fired by the Astros because of their cheating scandal. And I think this is all going to depend on Al Avila. If Al Avila can get the players around AJ Hinch, I think he could win. The problem with AJ Hinch in Arizona was he didn't have the players, and he wasn't good there. And I think the good part of what happened in Houston, though, is he had the players. He had the Altuves, the Correas, the Bregmans, the Springers. He had the Verlander, Cole. He had the guys around him in Houston, so he was able to win. So Al Avila's got to get the players around him. It's probably not going to be. It's probably going to take 2 to 3 years for the Tigers to be anywhere near competitive. But if Avila can get some players around him, I think this has a chance of working.
Yeah, it does. It's tough to, I know he served his 1-year suspension and all that, but to see him back in the game, you knew he was going to get hired somewhere. Alex Cora's going to get hired somewhere as well. I guess, kind of punishment that he's kind of got to come back and coach or be a manager of the Tigers. They do, they're kind of bringing up a couple of young talent guys, like Casey Mize wasn't great. Like, they're starting to kind of fill that kind of role here with the younger players, and I think definitely gonna take another few years here to get them relevant. But I know they still have Miguel Cabrera, but he's not the same. I know they're expecting Michael Fulmer to come back, but he's been injured like the last 2-3 years. He hasn't really pitched since his rookie year. But I think if this team can get competitive, and Detroit it's a passionate baseball town. The Tigers are doing well, so I guess it's a guy, if they can get back to winning, they got a shot to kind of be what they were in the early 2000s, late 2000s, when they were in the contention, for a while in the AL Central.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R and J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking Week 10 of the NFL season, Week 11 of the college football season, and previewing the Masters.